I just threw a bird in the corner and was escorted into the dead ball of Tianlao City by a group of officers and soldiers, just because when I was urinating, I happened to be seen by Princess Qingfeng, who was passing by, and the emperor threw me into the prison in a fit of rage, and I was exiled to the frontier on the day of Ziri. Just when I was gathering ashes for 10,000 years and wanted to seek death in my own life, I suddenly remembered a prompt sound in my head. I accidentally awakened the killing god system. As long as I kept killing the enemy, I could become stronger and stronger, but now I am a prisoner waiting for death. Where to find the enemy who can level me up before I could figure out a way? The prison door was opened by the royal clan, and he pressed a fierce prisoner in, and the prisoner stopped walking towards me when he saw me, and I felt bad in my heart. Just as he was about to get up and leave, his hand was on my shoulder. "You are Su Chang, you recognized the wrong person. What kind of pretense is what you want?" I recognize even the idea of Princess Qingfeng. I dare to fight it. It's very fat. I have a fierce opinion in my heart. This guy even knows the details of me. It's for me. Someone will spend money to bury your life. Pay attention in the next life. As soon as he finished speaking, the man took turns holding the heavy material mouth of dozens of pounds. It smashed down on my head, and I shrank down with the empty macho man, and if I was hit by this, I couldn't be treated as a female dog criminal, and the desire to survive made me subconsciously dodge this dose, and the mouth of the material smashed heavily on the wall, leaving a dent. The other prisoners in the cell watched this scene indifferently, and when they saw that I had dodged this dose, the man's brain was angry, and he raised his foot and kicked at me. Cornered into a desperate situation, I decided to fight to the death. While his center of gravity had not yet recovered, my wind was very strong towards him, and the man hadn't had time to fight, and the whole person was knocked to the ground by me. "Since you want my life, then I will send you home first." I desperately strangled his neck with the cold material in my hand. The man's eyes were red, and he struggled smoothly. No matter how he hit me, I couldn't hold my hand. There was only one thought left in my mind: strangle him. I don't know how long it took. The man finally stopped struggling. There was no movement at all. I gasped for breath, and the pleasure of the rest of my life made my fingers tremble. Suddenly, a cold mechanical sound sounded in my head. "Congratulations to the host for killing the enemy. The number of kills is 1, and the reward attribute point is 0.5. It turns out that this is the ability of the system. As long as it is hostile to me, it is judged by the system as the enemy's target, and after killing, you can get the attribute point reward." I quickly called up the attribute panel and looked at my pitifully forced attribute. I didn't hesitate at all. I added all the 0.5 that had just arrived to my physique, and in the next second, a warm current washed over my whole body, and the physical strength I had just exhausted was instantly full, and I even felt more energetic than before. I looked at the attribute panel again. Good thing, kill one to become stronger. If you kill a few more, I won't be able to walk sideways in this place. My eyes swept over the cell, the other dead balls. Everyone was staring at me, and none of them dared to look at me. I couldn't help but feel a sigh of relief, but unfortunately these people had no murderous intention towards me, and they were not enemies. At this time, the footsteps of the Jade clan were heard in the corridor. I quickly wiped the blood stains on my face, and was pretended to be indifferent against the wall. I turned around and left without saying a word, and the cell was surprisingly quiet for the next few days, but I was about to go crazy because of the growth of my physique. My food intake also increased, and 2 nests a day was a drop in the bucket for me. I was so hungry every day that I collapsed violently, and I wanted to eat the grass to shock it just when I was laughing for a long time. The Jade clan finally came to inform us to go on the road. The other prisoners were all ashen, and they died for a long time on the way to exile to the frontier, but my face was full of blood and anticipation, and I was finally able to leave this ghostly place. The more enemies I messed up, the more I could kill the enemies and level up, and by the way, I had a dozen prisoners thrown together by a chain with a thick neck, and I was unfortunately dragged behind the first in line. The prisoner with a bright gun was already hungry, and I rushed to the 10th mile with every step I sold, which naturally slowed down the speed of the entire team, and the leader of the escort was a fierce officer with thick eyebrows and big eyes, who raised his whip on horseback. Scolded me for rubbing what the rat returned. I couldn't make it to a stop before dark. I peeled your skin. I gritted my teeth, and I forced myself to speed up my pace. In one breath, they walked more than 100 miles, and it was not until noon that the team stopped to rest by a wood, and the escorted officers and soldiers sat together, chewing jerky, and the fragrance of the young man went straight to the sky. We prisoners can only watch when we are about to fall asleep. Otherwise, there was a faint vibration on the ground. I suddenly opened my eyes, and before I could relax my divine love, the sound of the horses' hooves had already approached the realm, and 5 men riding fast horses, really wearing soft and fake clothes, rushed to the edge of the woods murderously. The leading Lozai Lake's eyes were full of murderous intent. He pulled out the knife from his waist, pointed at us and asked, "Which is Sioux City?" I came out to die, and my heart was full of dust. It seemed that someone had an iron bird heart. He didn't want me to live on the frontier, and before I could speak, the National Self-Defense Federation who was working with me immediately jumped out of the crowd, pointed to my nose and shouted, "It's him, I've heard this name in prison." I stared at the National Self-Defense Federation, and wrote down this account in my heart. Lozai Lake cracked his mouth and smiled, and approached me step by step. It turned out to be a loose bag, and it was still like this. "I sent you on the road." The words were nowhere to be seen. The big knife in Lozai Lake's hand split sharply at me. I was tied to the others. There was no way to go. I could only bite the bullet and raise the chains of my hands to lie down. I only heard a green sound. My wrist didn't break, but the material in my hand was split. We were both stunned, but I reacted faster than him, and when he was stunned, I snatched the bullet from his hand. A backhand slash sent a boxed lunch in Lake Lozai. This scene made everyone look stupid. Who would have thought that 1 second I was still staying in Gaoyang, and the next second I picked up the counterkill and killed the killer. At this time, I also remembered the system prompt sound kill, the enemy bonus attribute 0.0.6. I didn't hesitate at all to add all the attributes I just got to the system. The next order, the warm current of the wall drum washed over the whole body, and the fatigue accumulated by the road for days disappeared in an instant, and the body seemed to have endless power, and then looked at the remaining 4 killers. What kind of threat was it in my eyes at the moment? Obviously they were not afraid of me because of the death of Lake Luz, and the next second they screamed and fanned again. And as soon as I got on fire, not only did I not retreat at all, but I also returned to the hidden vines. One by one, the enemy I didn't fall behind at all, but the more I fought, the more lucky I became. The more I fought, the more lucky I really. Those 4 killers, my mother's arms trembled. "Didn't you eat?" This little strength also wanted to kill the young master. I slashed while swinging my knife and taunted them, and one of them was slashed by me, revealing a fatal breakthrough, and I instantly seized the opportunity and slashed him to the ground with a knife, and I didn't hear the system beep, and I didn't die. Just as he was about to make up for it, a group of officers and soldiers suddenly strung out of the deep grass, and it was the officer who was surrounded by the officer of Nongmei. Where did the thief come from? And the team that moved the officers and soldiers, and there were only 3 killers left to build a defensive force. Turning around and running towards the forest, I secretly scolded in my heart, blaming the officers and soldiers for not coming, running down all my attribute points, and defending to the one who was not dead on the ground, and came to a heart-to-heart capacity. This 0.2 I saved the excitement first. "It's you who did it. The reason he doesn't die, I die. What other reason? What is their origin?" The official is wondering. "Why don't you go down and ask them?" The officer of Nongmei looked at me deeply, and after all, he didn't ask any more questions, but asked someone to change the revival cannon for me. I was a dead ball that had been hungry for several days. Where did I get such a big brutality? And I was the killer who trained Yangsu to fight back, and at night we were locked in a makeshift cell for World War I. Everyone was as tired as a dog, and I was the only one who was in high spirits. Everyone else subconsciously stayed away from me, especially the one who jumped out and only recognized my country narcissism, for fear of being retaliated by me, so frightened that he didn't dare to raise his head. Only the country was narcissistic and didn't dare to move. I stared at him. He also knew that he was being targeted by me, and he would not take Lao Tzu away. Just when I wanted to get up and take the nest head, I could stand up. His face was full of horror. "You don't go too far, go too far. When you betray me, why don't you go too far?" I took turns to rush towards him, and the country narcissism screamed like a war shower for help. But the little two didn't even look this way, and left without looking back. He thought that the horizontal number was dead, so it would be better to fight it again, but as soon as he rushed up, he was directly flown out by me. Ding, the number of kills is 2, and the reward attribute points are 0.1. Remaining attribute points 0.3, only 0.1 all night. Without words, the next morning Shao came to deliver food on time. Strangely, no one was moved this time. All the prisoners looked at me eagerly. The death row prisoner before bent over. His blue face was smiling. "Good man, please let me sneer randomly. You don't eat, don't dare to eat if you borrow our courage." I wasn't polite to them. I took 2 nests and devoured them. This is the officer of Nongmei who came to look for it, and at a glance he saw the lifeless narcissism of the country lying on the ground. Who did it? No one in the cell remembered. Only my voice was willing to be wobbled, and the officer came to me and asked condescendingly, "How did you die, sir?" "I fell asleep like a pig." "Who knows? Then you expect the blood." How to explain it? I raised my hand and looked at it, and sure enough there was a blood stain on the river, and this was a new material that had just been changed yesterday, and I couldn't explain the origin of the blood stain for a while, which was really strange. "How can there be blood on my material, or you will give me a new one? Don't talk to me poorly, always explain what." Everyone is a prisoner pinned to the waistband of his pants, and it's normal to die halfway. Maybe one day I'll hang up too, right? "Officer," the officer stared at me, as if he wanted to see some clues from my face, and finally he snorted coldly, turned around and left, and the team continued to embark on the road to the frontier. Without the blessing of yesterday's attributes, there is no oil and water in my stomach. My pace has obviously become, as long as I take off a vein in front, the whole team has to slow down, and the officer of the agricultural eyebrows rides on the horse towards my mouth. Go faster. Where is the majesty of yesterday? I curled my lips, suppressed the anger in my heart, and quickened my pace. The team stopped by the small river to rest, and the ball fans fell to the ground, and as soon as I sat down and was about to hang down, the officer of the agricultural eyebrows threw the bucket into my arms to fetch water, and everyone was thirsty. Officer, how do you work with this look? Untie it for him, and the officer and soldier immediately stepped forward and untied my chains, but he deliberately let two people stare at me and watch closely. Don't let him play tricks. I carried him to the river, just came back from the water. The dead balls were like evil kings, pounced on me. I hadn't caught my breath. The officer of the farm eyebrows stood in front of me again, and went to the river to get a few fish. Didn't you see that the brothers were hungry? Sorry, I want to eat and catch it by yourself. You dare to disobey. The atmosphere instantly froze to the freezing point. Officer Nongmei's hand pressed on the hilt of the knife. I didn't show weakness. I kicked back hard. First hit the water and then catch the fish. Do you have to light a fire for you for a while? I'm a dead ball, not your servant. Seeing that it was about to collapse, the old man in the ditch building who was in the cell suddenly looked flattering and couldn't come over. Sir, I will catch fish. I'll go with him. On the way to the river, the ditch building waste came into me with a smile. Old man, look at my methods for a while. Why help me? You are a man. This road is dangerous. We have to take care of each other. I think I was also the #1 person in my hometown back then. People gave me nicknames, White Strips in the Waves. Your surname is Zhang, and the small surname is Dog. That's okay. I didn't expect the old man to really have 2 brushes. Even if he brought a material back, he could come and go in the water independently, and it didn't take long to catch a few big fish. And when he returned to the shore, the officer looked at the fish on the ground. I didn't even raise my eyelids. I slaughtered, roasted. No, I don't want to say it a second time. I'm not Minjayus. It's clear that I'm going to get off the horse. I just wanted to have a seizure. And the waist of the ditch tower jumped out again to hit the original factory. Officer, I can bake. Just give me some salt. The officer of the farm eyebrows looked at me coldly, asked someone to throw a small bag of salt to the waist of the ditch, turned around and left, and I sat on the ground. I thought that this account would be recovered sooner or later, and the skilled shark grilled fish on the waist of the ditch building. You whispered for me. Good man, don't take it to heart. Your arms can't twist your thighs and everyone will pass. What is your name? Lang Li Baikiao. Simply change it to the divine rule of the human person. Forget it, this name is not bad. I was speechless for a while, the first time I saw someone willing to be a bastard. The ginger fish in the waist of Gulu was grilled, and the plum was sent to the officers and soldiers in a row, and then it was left back, and then I was given half a nest head, and I got up early and we shared the food. I want to live to the frontier and kill a few more barbarian people. Maybe I can be a madman who can be a general. Death row inmates become generals. That's wishful thinking, but I didn't pour cold water on it. This hellish place, it's always good to have a rebel in your heart, and the days after that are simply difficult, desperately rushing during the day, and being escorted by officers and soldiers to drink at night. I was so hungry that my eyes were full of green light, all relying on the nest head that came through the waist of the hook building, hanging a breath. I have never been willing to use the attribute points I have saved. That is my only trump card, and on the 10th day, the officer of Nongmei suddenly left me alone. I called into the room. There was steaming braised beef on the table, and the aroma of the young man made me smell tight. He took a bite in front of me, and then threw it on the ground like an appetite. Yes, I'm hungry, but I don't eat what comes next. What kind of hard bones do death row inmates pretend to have? If you dare to cause trouble, I have a way to deal with you, and let's see. A new team will meet, and the originally crowded cell will squeeze into more than 50 courtyards, and my whole body will fall apart. As soon as I sat down, I hooked the waist of the building and took out 2 nests and gave them to me, and just as I was about to reach out to take them, I was robbed by a dirty hand. After eating, his face was full of provocation. It tasted good. It was considered your filial piety to the uncle, and I wanted to snatch it back, but I was stepped on by the one-eyed dragon, and the officers and soldiers bullied me. A death row inmate dares to bully me on my head. What to look at? I have carried dozens of lives. I'm afraid you won't be able to do it. The murderer is quite powerful. The one-eyed dragon was knocked in, and a punch came at my face. I didn't hide. I didn't get sick. I threw a punch at his fist, and I only heard a click, and the crisp drum sound wanted to evacuate the cell, and the one-eyed dragon's arm hung down softly. The whole arm directly burst the lungs, and dozens of people were killed with this hand. I dodged sideways, and a hand knife slashed on his forearm, and there was another crisp sound, and the arm was broken directly, and the one-eyed dragon greedily fell to the ground, and the terrified hind legs were long gone. I approached step by step, staring at him fiercely. This is the murderer with dozens of lives in his hands. The bones are so hard. The one-eyed dragon's 2 hands were disabled by me, and the pain in his heart made his whole face distorted. I cut the small iron rod expressionlessly, and the weight was turned upside down in my hand, and my eyes wandered around him, as if I was picking up a shrimp knife. The one-eyed dragon collapsed. Uncle, I made it up. I am not a murderer, dozens of lives are also made up. Really? I am a pig-killing apprentice and I accidentally died with the master before I came in. I really don't have the courage to kill people. I have a way to verify whether it was intentional. You say that as long as I can do it, it's simple, you go down and ask your master. The one-eyed dragon was left behind, and then roared angrily, you play with me, I don't even want to be a ghost. The cell fell into immersion again, and everyone's eyes looked at me changed. It was the fear of madmen. Only the ditch building's waste has complicated eyes. He has never seen such a murderous side of me. I sat back in the corner, faintly. I felt that I was in my hands. The boss killed a clean white, and no one dared to mess with us in the future. I just died of a small trick, no small thing, the waste of the ditch building was silent. Only I know that this is the truth, the anger that has been suppressed for too long. I have to find an exit. I glanced at the attribute panel, physique 2.3. The remaining assignable attributes are 0.3, although this 0.1 is less. But the bad breath in his heart finally came out early the next morning. The officer of Nongmei came to inspect the cell, and as soon as he entered the door, he saw the dead one-eyed dragon, and his face was dusty. But he didn't say anything, even practice breakfast, and directly ordered everyone to go on the road. The silent behavior of the whole team. No one dared to frown at this time, although I was hungry. But with the blessing of the system, I didn't walk slowly. By noon, the team stopped at a mountain to rest, and several trees on the mountain were also full of fruit, although they were not yet ripe. But the green fruity fragrance hooked out everyone's silkworms. Boss, look, that bastard eats half and throws half of it. Explosive natural things, go if you want. Dog thief, let go of that mountain. Only me and the Nongmei officer are left. Looking at each other, the air seemed to freeze, and finally he stood up and walked towards me. Last night I saw those people over there. Over there, over there. Over there, over there, over there, he stood up and walked towards me, the person you killed last night. He robbed my nest and farted, he was screaming at me, don't dare. Then you are born to like to kill, yes, since you love to kill so much. Then I will definitely let you live to the frontier, let you kill enough and make it clear that Tiger Way Camp is your hiding place. Huey Camp, what is it? Just as I was quickly searching for memories of the Tiger Way Camp, Nongmei suddenly blew a blow on the mountain, and then the officers and soldiers and prisoners on the mountain were all assembled, and Officer Nongmei let the Exile team go. Continue to short circuit, the dead balls are full of ions, the steps are a lot brisk, the waste of the ditch building is playing bauga. While coming over, the boss is sorry, I didn't grab the ion for you. Old dog, have you heard of the Tiger Power Camp? The boss inquired about this, it was the hall of hell of the dead ball, and none of the people who went in could come out alive. How do you know that I escaped back from the northern wilderness, where the leader called the mountain tiger and used the dead ball as cannon fodder? The mortality rate was the highest, but it also killed the most people in the northern wilderness. In short, that's a madman, don't move, I hope I don't get assigned there, but I laughed after hearing it. Sounds good, it's quite suitable for me, I'm serious, that place can kill people in the open, or kill people in the northern wilderness. The waste of the ditch tower looks at me like a madman. Looking at the frenzy in my eyes, the waste of the ditch was silent, and for a murderer, it was heaven. Officer Nongmei rode on horse, looked at me coldly, with an expectant expression, and the corners of his mouth curled up with a sneer. I don't know if you are alive or dead. When you enter the Tiger Way Camp, there will be a time when you cry. A month later, the team arrives at the edge of the Beijiang River, and the paving comes. That is the smell of the battlefield. The further north you go, the more corpses there are. There are imperial soldiers, there are northern wilderness barbarians, and there are also unlucky guys in deadball uniforms. Most of their heads are cut off, and they dare not look up under the dead goal for fear of seeing their future selves. A few days later, in front of a barracks, officers and soldiers unchained him, and a smile squeezed out of his face that was even more ugly than coup, and I patted him on the shoulder. His shoulders collapsed, he didn't look back, and walked into the barracks with heavy steps, and that back was probably the end of the rest with me to the Tiger Way Camp. There were only the last 10 people left in the team, and the officer of the farmer pointed at the horse, and the other dead balls looked at me gloating, as if I was already a dead man. I followed expressionlessly, and on the way the officer of the farmer threw a bag over. Open it and take a look at the braised beef, keep it for yourself to eat for the next life, I sneered. Thrown back along the wind, the officer put away the beef, killed a farmer in his eyes, has backbone, I can't see. There is backbone, this is the last temptation, if I eat it, maybe I can go to the ordinary barracks since I went. Then I can only go to Camp Tiger to die just to my liking at night. The officer tied my hands and feet close to 10 o'clock, and I slept soundly in the middle of the night, and a dense sound of horses' hooves surprised me. Don't move, it's a strange disease in the northern wilderness. Untie me, otherwise I'll have to die. No, the iron chain will be exposed. And the officer of the farm held me in a daze, and the two of them lay in the grass, and the atmosphere did not dare to come out. The sound of horses' hooves is getting closer and closer, the ground is emitting. I am anxious, Junjiang holds, the sound of horses' hooves is gradually fading away. I breathe a sigh of relief, and now I can untie it. It's all gone, and you have a fart. What if you go back to the cabin? Close your crow's mouth, the pronunciation is inaccurate, and a blast explodes on him. Who gets out? The Nongmei officer's face is green. I can't care about scolding the bird. These barbarians really haven't left. Untie it quickly. I really want to die together. The Nongmei officer gritted his teeth and took out the key. As soon as the chains were untied, a few black shadows surrounded the ring moonlight. I saw clearly the body like an iron tower, the waist and eyebrows of the high-rise building. These northern barbarians were as strong as blood, and in front of the desolate people, I was as thin as a chicken. I swallowed a mouthful of saliva, thinking that I was dead. The scimitar of the desolate tribe in the night shot out a lonely cold light. I saw 3 people in an instant, 3 towers as cold as towers, chicken like flour steel salt. This is the power that crushes the imperial soldiers. They haven't noticed me for the time being. I'm trying to figure out how to escape. The old bee officer of the farm suddenly rushed out with his knife. Why are you stunned? I want to die, I scolded. You can only live to the agricultural officer, your eldest son. The big knife of the agricultural officer replied to Fang Guang's agricultural officer. I think of seeing him retreating for me. And the people of the barbarian tribe take care of themselves and help quickly. The reason for the failure is too noisy. Lin Tong's father, your host, is gone, and no one will give you a system daughter-in-law in the future. On the other side, the 2 desolate people returned the knife and criticized me. The warm current burst out, the power was pouring all over the body. I wrapped the iron chain, did not retreat, and punched the scimitar. When the gold and iron are inscription, the fire is bounced, and the 2 desolate tribesmen are 3 steps back, and I stand in place as steady as Mount Tai, and the officer is stupid and even the moves are messed up. The people of the Central Plains, where did they get so much strength? Go down and ask the wise king. But they didn't take advantage of the military situation, and they couldn't take them down for a while. Hurry up and don't drag your knife to me. Catch the big knife flying with the sound of the wind. I grabbed it, slashed with my backhand, and the scimitar broke hard, and the desolate tribesman looked frightened, and before he could react, he was cut off by me with a knife, killing 2 in 1. Bonus attribute point hit. Another desolate clan rushed up with red eyes. I killed the red eye, stared at the head, and split it in half with a knife. The officer was completely stunned. This is not a fight, it is simply chopping melons and vegetables. The last barbarian tribesman. Seeing that it was not good, he turned around and ran, whistled, and a dark horse was removed, and he flew away, and it was bad. He went to call someone. Ask me no. I can't catch up with the horse. I simply stopped, used all my strength, and threw the big knife in my hand with a bloody arrow. But he didn't fall. Lying on the horse and disappearing into the night, the officer was so angry that he was done. Let him run away. The system prompted the kill count to 2 in 1, and I clapped my hands calmly. Don't worry, die thoroughly. It is not advisable to stay for a long time, and be angry overnight until dawn. I just ran into a bunch of cavalry from the Empire and pointed out the direction of the Tiger Might camp, and those cavalrymen looked at me very strangely, as if they were looking at a dead man over a hill. The Tiger Power camp arrived, and before I entered the door, the smell of blood soared into the sky, and it almost smoked me into the soil, and the gate was cool, and the rice was covered with rows of desolate people's heads, some of which had rotted into skeletons. The crow is really minced meat on it. Did I swallow my saliva? This is going to the mountain lake to do decoration. There is quite a set. The officer of the farm sneered. Why is this afraid? It's late, I'll punish you. I'm afraid of a hare. This place is too appetizing for me. 2 strong men at the door, blue deer. I heard that I am a mortal enemy. My eyes are clear, and I have a meat that sends me to death, so thin. Can block a few pieces, just enough. The last batch is dead. Let's go. Enter the camp. The tragedy is merciful, and several barbaric people are tied to stakes and baptized. Splitting the meat stack, the officer handed me over to the soldier and left by himself. Holding his breath, the soldier arrived and took me to a dimly lit cell, and after saying that, he pushed me in and closed the door. The cell was pitch black. I was just taking a step. I looked down. It was a dead man. It was hard. No wonder these 8 trees were dead last time. It turned out to be dead here. The soldier turned back, and the horse took off the body carelessly. The cell fell into darkness again. I leaned against the corner, thinking that this place really lived up to its name. Even the cell had its own corpse. I was so tired, I fell asleep in a daze. I was half awake. Suddenly felt that the cell door was opened, and I don't know why the agricultural media officer suddenly asked this. What to eat, everything, no regrets. He nodded and didn't speak, turned around to leave. Wait a minute, why didn't you kill me along the way? Why did you kill you? Doesn't someone want my life? You want to know who it is? The dead don't need to know, they don't have to die, they don't want me to be an understanding ghost. Don't test me with sauce beef, I don't eat beef, and I owe you a knife and I'll give you a better one next time. I was the only one left in the cell. Opened the system panel, Zhongjin practiced and reached the holy place, and I saved so much in just a few days, and I was left with attribute point 1.7 until the evening. The cell door opened, and a few people were all writing. They didn't look at me, each of them found a place to pretend, and finally a thin old man came in, carrying a lantern. His body was clean, and a newcomer came, and the thin skin and tender flesh had done something. The old man smiled and sat next to me secretly. I don't mention the past. My name is Su Cheng. We don't call it a nickname. You can call me Shoma Gang. I'll crack my mouth. Okay, then you call me Wang Wang Xiao Xiaosu Xiao Xiaosu. It's interesting, where have you been? Why are you covered in blood? You went to fight the grassland. You went to the grassland. Here, killing the people of the northern wilderness is called hitting the grassland. I nodded. It seems that it is nothing. At this time it was the soldiers who sent a large box of steamed buns and a barrel of wine. Shoma Port said, you are new. Take whatever you want today, and in the future, line up in two according to the number of killers. No one kills, no food to eat. I like this rule. Strength comes first. I took 5 big meat buns, and a silly big brother like an iron tower behind me. Took 10 buns, filled half a barrel of wine in one go, and then a woman with a bulging chest, with a red waist on her face, took 2 buns. Sister Butterfly should eat more. Otherwise, the nutrition can't keep up. A crisp sound came from the dark, and then there was a handsome young man with a pale face, smiling and pinching a bun with blue paper. I looked up to Goosebumps and decided to leave the origin of this. Finally, there was a little man wrapped in a black robe, got into the frame and ate wildly. Shoma Gang explained, don't be afraid. She is a good boy, but the food looks ugly. I swallowed the buns in my mouth. This is really a hidden dragon's den. Shoma Port is drinking wine, and began to introduce silly big brother is the young master of the Jiangnan gang. The whole gang is dead, and the flower butterfly escaped from the brothel. The flowers on his face flew like butterflies when he killed someone, and the little white face was the prince's confidant who hooked the prince's daughter and was sent in. The little white face screamed in protest. It was she who hooked me, so how could she do that? Shinsu, can Shinsu be in such a place? She is also a talent. That little man is the worst. The master is an evil cultivator, and she trained her to look like this ghost, and she killed the master. I didn't go out and stayed here. I's called chess. As for me, I am a bad old man who can play poison. The flower butterfly sneered, and the ancient poisonous old ghost said that he was an ordinary old man. Laughing to death, the little white face mends the knife. Stay away from her. Be careful of poisoning. I was shocked. It turned out that the master was frightened by my side. Shoma Gang asked with a smile, don't listen to their nonsense. The one who came in was probably the guy who was looked at by Princess Qingfeng. Shoma Gang spat out a sip of wine. Flower butterflies laughed out loud in the darkness. Shoma Gang nodded. Then you came in unjustly. I died unjustly. It's mine, it's me. What are you capable of? I like to kill. In the future, leave the murder to me so that you can fulfill it. There was nothing to say all night, and early the next morning the soldier sent another box of buns. Everyone lined up according to the rules. I consciously ranked last. Shoma Port handed me 5 buns. The little one left for you. I looked at the little brother in my eyes in surprise, nodded, and was eating. The door opened, and I had someone immediately swallow the buns and follow us into Shanyang Lake. Everyone immediately swallowed the buns and followed Shanyang Lake, took us to a battalion commander full of stone weapons. Others gave Shoma Port a booklet. A few no problems. The North has been restless these past few days to check what they want to do. Price a supply of information deal. Grab alive, 2 confessions deal. By the way, take this to Tai Shanyang Lake and leave. I am an alliance. There is an accident trial. What kind of slang are you talking about? Shoma Port smiled and said, you'll know later. Everyone packed up and prepared to set off. After Shoma Port finished speaking, everyone took action, and the silly big brother picked up a mace of the same size as him and carried it on his shoulder. I was stunned to see it. This mace is probably a few hundred pounds. The silly big brother is really a lot of strength, and the young master Shinsu took a black iron rod, and when I saw that he seemed to be caressing the iron rod, I got goosebumps on my body. The flower butterfly took a long whip, and the whip was erected on it, and I looked at my waist every time, as expected of a girl who had been in a brothel, and the weapon to play was the flower, and only the little man was left. He went to the shelf, picked up a box, walked to the horse pole, and I pointed to the box and asked, is this your weapon? What's in it? Ha ha ha, this is the old man's box. It was filled with some fun things, and he didn't need a weapon. The little man stretched out his hand and waved it. His cold nails on his fingers seemed to tell me, this is my weapon. I nodded, and then I looked around and started to choose my own weapon. and I took a fancy to a big knife at a glance because it looked like the one that the agricultural officer had lost. I picked up the big knife and looked at it carefully, and the doubts in my heart became stronger. How could there be two knives so similar in this room? You like him, he was only put on the shelf yesterday. I have a very close relationship with you, how did this knife come from? I know that he cut it yesterday, and the horse pole pointed at a small man. I know, it seems that this oil is the knife of the agricultural media officer. I didn't expect to go around and return to my own hands. This fate is really wonderful. I carried the big knife on my shoulder, the others also chose their weapons, and then everyone walked out of the tent. Outside the camp, a bald old man was standing in the open space, and behind him was a pair of neatly slaughtered Tiger Way army. The bald old man turned over and walked at the front of the team. The horse pole led a few people behind the bald old man, and the Tiger Way army followed behind them. I stared at the bald old man and whispered to the horse pole, how could the barracks emperor have a monk? When I finished saying this, I suddenly felt that the murderous aura of the leader was pressed down from the bald old man. Not enough. Accompanied by the shouting of the horse pole, the murderous aura disappeared without a trace in an instant. Don't talk nonsense. I nodded and didn't ask any more, but I always wanted to see the bald head until the sun broke through the object, and I had to squint my eyes. The reflection on the bald head was so dazzling. At this time, the old man stopped, dismounted and walked to the front of the horse pole. Yesterday I found 3 desolate scouts here. They came from which direction, I don't know. By the time we got here, they were already dead. 2 of them were dead here. Their heads split open, and the horse stalled with a nod, and the bald old man turned over and went on his horse. The team walked for another long time, and this time the bald old man came to a small puddle, and instead of approaching the puddle, he pointed there with his whip and said that there were 3 red queens who had fed the horses there, and then went east. Our men followed them, and when they were crossing a swamp, they suddenly accelerated, and our men didn't keep up, and the horse pole nodded again and said, you wait here, let's go and take a look. The bald old man nodded, and the horse pole left the team with me, and when I couldn't see the bald old man looking back, I asked, aren't they afraid of us running away? The others didn't answer my question, as if the question was idiot. Only Shoma Pole said with a smile, do you want to run? Where can you run? The empire wants you, or the people of the northern wilderness want you. Silence, indeed nowhere to go. If I escape, I will be a wanted criminal in the empire, I will be a clan in the northern wilderness, I will look up at the white sky, and I feel very unhappy. I can't go anywhere in this big sky if you want to escape. You can leave now, and we'll say you're dead when we go back. But if you get caught by them again, we'll all die together. I laughed. You look down on me too much. I'm here to kill people. I won't go anywhere until I kill happily. Shomaju nodded in satisfaction and said, there are 2 young soldiers in front of me. You went with young Master Shinsu to touch them, and it was difficult to roll your eyes with a cold face, and seemed to accept the nickname of young Master Shinsu, and I looked left and right and said in a misfortune, how can there be a young soldier? Why didn't I see it? I didn't see it. I heard him say it, and pointed to the little man beside me, and I asked curiously when he spoke. I didn't hear anything. When you were laughing just now, he pointed in front of you, and then stretched out 2 fingers, and my jaw almost fell off. I rely on this to observe more on the battlefield, not only to pay attention to the enemy, but also to learn to cooperate with teammates. You will learn these things later. Let's do things first. I followed young Master Shinsu quietly to the front. Sure enough, after a while, I saw 2 horses grazing in front of me. The horses of the panic tribe had no saddles and feet, and at first glance I thought they were wild horses, but their owners were usually nearby. He also pointed out to me the small pit next to the horse, and I had amnesia, and my panic clansmen were hiding there. I clicked, and young Master Shinsu and I outflanked the small pit from both sides, and I quietly added the attributes on the way to the panic people. Added points successfully. Remaining attribute points 1.6. The warm current instantly filled my body. This is a precious depression that no food can bring. I licked my sweet lips, clenched the big knife in my hand and rushed up. The performance is still slowly approaching the puddle, and the young Master Shinsu got a 1. Didn't you say that you sneaked up? Why did this kid rush up directly? The young Master Shinsu was going to retreat on the spot, and the plan was necessary. My teammates are observing me and several people who are still smiling as usual, and the silly big brother and the little man don't care about what happened in front of them at all. Only the flower butterfly is making a fuss in my life. It looks quite normal, but unfortunately it is a stunned shock. The beast horsepole smiled and said, don't be in a hurry to draw conclusions, wait a moment. The order of the situation on the battlefield is ever-changing. Young Master Shinsu is busy retreating, and I am busy charging, and when young Master Shinsu just ran back lying down with an iron rod, I heard a scream in the distance, and young Master Shinsu began to get in the way of me. He had never seen such a war. How could the Northern Emperor be so easy to deal with? How could he run up so straight? But as soon as young Master Shinsu walked in front of Hua Butterfly, he saw him looking at the money with a surprised face. Don't look at it. That kid must have died quite miserably. But unfortunately he only came for a day. But the flower butterfly interrupted young Master Shin Su's words. You see, you kid is so fierce. As soon as young Master Shin Su got it, he turned his head to watch the drama, and then opened his mouth wide in surprise, and my fingertips were all over my body. The desolate tribesman still had angry bones on his face, but his body slowly fell. I wiped the heart on my face, and a figure appeared behind me. It was another desolate tribesman, and the desolate tribesman did not rush towards me, but went straight to the standing horse. Obviously wanted to escape, but how could I do what he wished? And I kicked his feet and rushed at him. Human Realm Swordstone. I criticized the desolate tribe with endless killing intent. After thinking about it without eating, the desolate clansman's human code was split in half by me, and the system prompt sounded the number of kills was 1 bonus attribute points were 0.5. I stood there like Yushu Ashura. My face was full of enjoyment. Young Master Shin Su's mouth Zhangde was already able to stuff 3 iron rods. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva in a daze, and 3 words popped out of his mouth: Macho Man. I smiled and said, "Don't jump to conclusions so early." Hua Butterfly said with complicated eyes. I really underestimated him. This strength can be compared to the eldest son, and the horse bites his head and says, "It's different. The big man's mace weighs hundreds of pounds, and it is not all his strength that can kill people. It's rare for a big man to express an opinion that is really different. If it were me." They were smashed into meatloaf when the silly big brother talked about the meatloaf. The little man stretched out his dark red tongue and licked his sweet lips as if it were a cicada. Now my body is covered in blood, but I don't care about this. But I accidentally wiped the soybeans in my hand with a piece of soybeans, and I won with a smile. I did a good job, and I forgot to leave the fire just now when I was in a hurry. I laughed embarrassedly. It's just 2 red and black people who were burned. I didn't blame me when I saw the horse. I felt a little more at ease, but I felt that the way others looked at me was a little wrong. The flower butterfly was fine. His expression had always been quite cold. But why did the young Master Shin Su look at me strangely? I even felt a little dangerous, this feeling I didn't have when I was facing the 2 people of the northern wilderness just now. When I looked at young Master Shin Su with an inquiring gaze, young Master Shin Su immediately smiled, quite fiercely, and solved them by himself. I don't care about young Master Shin Su. He left me behind just now. It's better for me to go alone so that young Master Shin Su from competing with me for experience. I laughed and said, "Next time this kind of thing I can go alone." "How can that work? You can't always let you work alone." "It's okay, I like to kill." 2 people were talking, and they were interrupted by the horse's feeling, simplifying a little, and their bare heads were gone. "We will react soon. We have to hurry up and find their large force." Everyone nodded, and then continued on their way. This time they did not blindly search, since the red head of the Shinsu people had already appeared. Then their large army is not far away. According to past experience, the bare heads of the Shinsu people usually walk around the large army, so they should be able to meet the large army soon. And sure enough, a quarter of an hour after the big leap, the little man suddenly stretched out his hand and roared at the right front. This time I don't need to be affected by Magon to explain. I also know that there are people from the northern wilderness in front of me, and a large army has appeared. Everyone prepare. As the doctor printed, everyone began to check the weapon. The silly brother held the blind tooth stick in his hand and began to stroke his iron rod. The box behind him took out a small red bottle and sprinkled the powder on the whip of the flower butterfly, and the little man had no weapon, so he licked the nails on his hand. I should be the most normal one in this group. I have already wiped my big knife clean, and after everyone is ready, I will take everyone to the front to the right. I am a little excited now. I just came out for half a day, and I have gained an attribute point, and I have to thank those panic people. And soon I was about to meet with the panic tribe again, but before I could wait, I saw a large army of the panic tribe, and I heard a real roar in the distance, and after a few people climbed over a hill, I saw a group of people in the distance tearing each other apart. I looked closely, and it was the Imperials and the panics fighting, and the Imperial army was very mixed, both soldiers and ordinary people, and I saw familiar clothes from those ordinary people. It was a pair of dead balls, and the Imperial army was commanding the dead balls to charge, and although those dead balls didn't have any weapons or armor, they could only bite the bullet and rush forward, because if they waited to turn back, there will be a big knife soon. There is only a dead end to escape. There is still a glimmer of life to move forward. These dead balls have no choice. They can only rush to the panic people in the distance. And the panic people didn't hesitate. They wielded their scimitars and rode horses, and in just one charge they harvested most of the dead balls, and the remaining dead balls collapsed on the spot, and some knelt on the ground in a daze. Seeing the headless corpse in front of him spraying blood, the next moment his world became spinning, and he became the headless corpse in the eyes of others. Some of them ran to the Imperial ferry, but they were greeted by the big swords of the military industry, and some ran to the grass. They wanted to pay attention to this person's economy. But the panic people behind them immediately chased after them and harvested their lives. The dead balls were vulnerable in front of the panic people, and soon they were killed and wounded. I stood on the top of the hill and watched all this silently. If I were an ordinary person, then I should be blocking the grass over there now. At this time, the empire below moved in the twilight, and in the concealment of the death of the dead balls, they finally couldn't move, but instead of rushing towards the panicked people, they turned over and fled into the distance. I was confused. Did they just run away? Isn't it time for them to make a fuss? Just a few taels of silver a month? What kind of life are they playing? The shields are dead. Of course they are retreating. It's time for us to go on. Remember to leave their little boss. I heard a sound in my ears. Chun Man ran wildly. And I saw the silly big brother fall into the source of his hand and play with the little stomach grabbed on his arm. And the little man was in midair, let out another strange scream, fell to the ground smoothly, and then rushed towards the panicked clan with all four corners on the ground. The silly big brother behind him was also extremely brave, and he could usurp Ji Minuan with every step he waved the mace in his hand. As easy as the iron rod of the holy void young master. I was sighing at the strange stones of the two of them. Suddenly I remembered a piercing laugh in my ears. I was startled, and I saw the little flowers on the faces of the flowers and butterflies. It was blooming coincidentally, and in just an instant, it turned into a blood-red butterfly, and then the flower butterfly really chased after the two people in front of it like a butterfly. His father-in-law is not bad, but I didn't answer his words and rushed down with a thud, and the young master of Shengshu was stunned for a moment, and then followed me and stood on the top of the mountain without moving. Just watched us leave with a smile. The people of the northern wilderness at the foot of the mountain were screamed by the porcelain and gave birth to a one. But when I turned my head to look at only a few people on the mountain, they all laughed darkly, just these few people. It's not enough for the desolate tribesmen to stuff their teeth. They only divided a few dozen people to deal with us, and the rest went to pack up the loot they had just delivered. But the next desolate tribesman couldn't laugh. The desolate tribesman squad was instantly rushed to pieces. The little brother was like a beast. He threw down a desolate tribesman, opened his big mouth, and sprayed blood towards the desolate tribesman's neck. The little brother was covered in zero, but he didn't care at all, but jumped towards another desolate tribesman, who kept pulling out his life force. His life force was slowly flowing, and the huge mace ended everything. I saw a silly man halfway up the mountain and killed a desolate tribesman, and he screamed in a hurry, but before I could rush down the mountain, the flower butterfly on the other side also started to move, and he met the two desolate tribesmen like a real butterfly. The desolate tribesman's expression was really spiritual, but the flower butterfly smiled very happily, and his whip hit the desolate tribesman on his wings and shoulders fiercely, but it only left a blood mark on the desolate clan's body. Such damage obviously couldn't kill the desolate tribesmen. The desolate tribesmen were stimulated by the pain on their bodies. They opened their big mouths to grab the flower butterfly in their hands, but the next moment they found that their hands were gone. I saw blood-red stripes spreading from the blood marks left by the whip. They were very fast, and in just one moment they crawled all over the bodies of the desolate tribesmen, and the next moment these spots suddenly burst. The desolate tribesmen instantly turned into a punctured balloon. All of them were frightened by the horror expression on the desolate tribesman's face before his death, and they quickly escaped from the whip of the flower butterfly, and the chain reaction began instantly. The people around the flower butterfly fell to the ground. They rolled all over the ground in pain, but they couldn't stop the general who died. The people around the flower butterfly fell to the ground. They rolled all over the ground in pain. But it can't stop the dead generals, the dead generals. The people around the butterfly fell to the ground. They rolled all over the ground in pain, but they couldn't stop the generals who died. They rolled all over the ground in pain, but they couldn't stop the generals who died. They were rolling on the ground in pain, but they couldn't stop the dead generals. They were rolling all over the ground, but they were so fast that I finally felt my big knife slash at one of the desolate people closest to me. But it was too late. Before my big knife slashed at the desolate tribesmen, the desolate tribesmen were tired of it. I didn't hear the system prompt. They were furious. They were one merchant and one mending knife, very fast. I know why the silly big brother can line up when taking the buns, but the little man is in last place, and he let him pick up all the emotional heads, and I was red to a certain point, but I couldn't help it. Because the cooperation between the silly big brother and the little man is so good, I don't think I can help it, and the whip of the butterfly on the other side is also very fast, and it will be whipped by his whip, and it will be turned into a soup of black lizards by the poison of the horse in an instant. By the time I slashed with my big knife, the man was already dead. I was busy for a long time. I didn't catch anything. I was so anxious that I screamed, "You are all mine." Suddenly I saw a desolate tribesman in the distance. That desolate tribesman, Brother Lee Silly and Hua Butterfly, they were far away. So I didn't get poisoned for the time being. I immediately let out a strange scream, rushed towards the wild people like a wild wolf, and I raised my big knife excitedly. Stupidly slashed the head of the desolate tribesman, and an iron rod flew out of nowhere to fight for the head of the desolate tribesman, and I was stunned at the time, looking for the culprit in the direction the iron rod flew, and I saw that the young master of Shang Su was smiling at me. How about I said, "I won't let you go alone next time"? I spat at Shang Su's young master, and then my mother rushed up like another Huang clan. Only Shang Su was left in his head on the spot. I obviously helped him just now, But why didn't he appreciate it? Now I don't have time to talk to Shang-Su. I'm so anxious that I'm going crazy. Obviously there are countless experience packages on this battlefield. But why can't I get any of them? Aren't I worried? This group of people is really too perverted. They don't even leave me a single one. And I see that the surrounding desolate people are immediately killed. I really can't help it. I looked at the real large army of the Huang people, and then I rushed up with a throat. The Huang people had already packed up all their combat power and were ready to retreat, and their goal this time was the self-respect of the food and grass of the imperial people. Because the Huang people can't wait to fight, so they all rely on robbing to eat, drink, and lose, and in the northern border, the Huang people can only grab the imperial people, so they will come out every now and then to sweep up so that they can get supplies. They can also harass the imperial people. It is simply killing two birds with one stone. The leader of the desolate tribe squad is called Bolt. He brought a total of dozens of people out this time, and he got a few carts of grain and grass without much effort. As long as they brought the food and grass back, he would be able to cross over, but as soon as they beat the imperial escort team away, they killed a few people from the mountain. But as soon as he arranged the grain and grass, he found that the men he had sent out were almost dead, and even an imperial man rushed at their large army, and Bolt was angry at that time. Bolt's armor at his feet. Bolt's horse galloped towards me. Bolt wielded a scimitar in his hand, intending to kill me with one blow. I was anxiously looking for an experience pack, and suddenly I saw a person rushing out of the ranks of the desolate people. Coming straight to me, I was overjoyed. This was the experience package sent to the door. I couldn't let him run anymore. I thought I was running faster here, and Bolt's horse was getting closer and closer to me, and I raised the big knife in my hand. And Bolt also raised the scimitar in his hand. I laughed like crazy, and Bolt laughed cold-bloodedly. A giant elephant of a lifetime, two knives collided together. I was ready to see the scene of the scimitar breaking. But the reality disappointed me. The other party's scimitar was unscathed in this blow. Bolt was also stunned. He had a treasured sword in his hand that was rewarded by the tribal leader, and he could cut off the swords of the empire in the past. But this time is different from before, and both of them have a common idea. The opponent is very strong, the physical fitness is very strong, and the knife is also very powerful. I am cautious. My power blow in the past. Ordinary people's arms will be shattered by the town, but the desolate people on the war horse have nothing to do, and Bolt is also very careful about his own strength. And he also has the blessing of the speed of the war horse. That blow should have hit the empire people. But this is not the case. The opponent is still standing in place, not even a step without a leg. The doubts in the eyes of the two people passed away. Why? Since the knife can't be broken. Then cut people, because people can't be as hard as knives. My knife doesn't pick up, it goes directly to Bolt's neck. Bolt also wants to use the power of the fish to cut me to the ground, but he sees the cold mango stone on my knife. Suddenly I stopped. The whole person leaned back. Although I didn't hurt the opponent with this blow, but I had the upper hand in terms of momentum, and the situation that was originally a military rival began to change coincidentally, but this change was fleeting. When Bolt regrouped his horse to face me, his momentum returned. I licked my sweet lips. This is a powerful enemy, not at all like ordinary desolate people. If you kill him, you will definitely get a lot of attribute points. The killing intent in Bolt's eyes was also rising. He hadn't met the master of the imperial people for a long time. If he could kill the man on the opposite side, he would definitely be able to cause losses to the imperial people. Just now it was just a situation between the two sides. Next is the real killer move. Bolt's body is very strong, but this is not his biggest move. His killer move is a chain machine in the case of missing a hit. He called this trick back to the saber. I don't know how many empires have been hacked to death by him like this. He is very confident in his move, and my biggest staff is not my strength but my system, since the current strength can only fight against the other party. Then at some points my mind flashed, and then a strong warm current surged into my whole body. Successfully added points. Su Cheng's physical fitness 4.9 remaining attribute points. 0.2 I only left 0.2 attribute points, and then added all the attribute points to the system, and the next moment I felt like my body seemed to swell. That force was so powerful that they did the change in my body in an instant, and then my body went back to normal, and it was like nothing had happened, and I knew that I was completely different from what I was just now. Just now I was only twice as strong as an ordinary person, but now I am 5 times stronger than an ordinary person, and this enhancement is not a simple multiple relationship. My comprehensive strength has now increased geometrically, and my instantaneous change did not attract Bert's attention. He was now full of his own special moves, and no one else noticed me. Everyone was busy killing, just paying attention to the general situation on the battlefield with their peripheral vision, and only one person frowned at the moment of my change. He is the beast horse pole standing on the top of the mountain. Impossible. Am I mistaken? While the beast horse pole was talking to himself, Bert had already urged the war horse to kill me. I cracked my mouth and won at a faster speed than just now. Bolt and fear tightened for a while. How could his opponent's speed be so much faster than just now? It was comparable to him on a war horse, but now Bolt didn't have time to think about it. There was no looking back. All he had to do was deliver his perfect blow, and Bert sneered at the corner of his mouth. Even if you're strong, it's impossible to dodge my ultimate. Did I dodge? I rushed straight towards Bert. The speed has reached the extreme. I feel my blood boiling all over my body. I am excited by the battle. It is also occupied because of the change in its own strength. Is this power? Let me enjoy it. I hugged and raised the big knife in my hand and slashed at Bert. Bolt was not afraid at all. He also raised his knife and killed me. Bolt had already thought that when the two knives collided together, it was he who used his special skill, and he had imagined that beautiful picture. The machete would stab me hard in the back of my heart after a round of rotation, and that was the time to decide the winner. But it was really as Bert had hoped. When the two knives collided together, they protruded. Bert felt poison coming from his hand, and the next moment he watched as the big knife in his hand was cut in half, and his arm was also burst by the huge recoil force, and a knife was instantly bleeding. Bert looked at everything in front of him. His mind couldn't turn around. How could this be possible? But it was too late, and all that was left in his world was my real smiling face. And this thought only appeared in Bert's mind. I was frozen forever. My broadsword shattered Bert's knife and slashed directly into Bert's mind. Flesh and blood were no harder than the broadsword. Bert's head was neatly shaved off. The standing horse hunched his body away and his head rolled down to the grass. I listened to the system's chime and licked my sweet lips with satisfaction. Number of kills, 1 bonus attribute points 1.0. As expected of the small leader of the desolate tribe, the reward points given are many, and then I didn't even look at Bert's corpse on the ground, so I turned around and rushed towards the desolate tribe's team. I have an endless amount of strength now, and it is all a bad reward given to me by the system, so I want to take advantage of this agent to kill more desolate people. Their squad leader died unknown. Everyone had no intention of taking care of the food and grass, and they fled around. God saved my life. I used my feet hard, and the whole person flew out. I raised the big knife in my hand, and after landing, it accurately slashed at the back of a desolate tribesman. Ha ha ha. Don't go fucking God. I suddenly found a figure hiding next to the cool grass cart. Haha. There was a lonely person. I jumped over without thinking. He raised his knife and slashed at the man's back. The man seemed to hear the movement behind him, and fell in the chaos, and then he turned around in horror, and it turned out to be an old face full of wrinkles. I didn't let him go just because he was an old man, but punished him with the golden medicine to give him a good time, and the wrinkles on the old desolate tribesman's face at that time all unfolded, and he closed his face painfully and Jin Dong died at this critical moment. Suddenly, there was a voice from the performance. I saved him. We have to go back to cross the road. I put away the knife suddenly, but the blade of the hunter still slashed at the head of the old wilderness. I didn't go to check the condition of the old desolate tribesmen because I didn't hear the system's prompt sound, so I concluded that the old desolate tribesmen were not dead. Little Xiaosu, you are so fierce. Silly big brother is mincing meat on Zilong's tooth stick. The little brother is busy licking his hand. Flower butterfly didn't speak, but looking at me, my gaze eased a lot. Only I looked at the unconscious old man of the desolate tribe on the ground, his face full of unwillingness. Just an old man, what can he know? Why don't I kill him? Forget it. I was inspired by the horse and came over and said, no. He is the priest of the desolate tribe. Just in time we took him back to cross the priest. What kind of thing is the person who uses cash? Young Master Shinsu said with a smile and shook his head. Priest, you haven't heard of it. Mr. Shama has heard of it. Don't gossip. I still shook my head, and at this time I felt the horse and spoke again. Take him and the large army to gather. The silly big brother stepped forward, tied up the priest of the desolate tribe and carried it on his shoulder, and the little brother sat on the priest's body. Although I was a little confused, I didn't ask anything, and it didn't take long for us to see the bald old team. Only arched his hands at the bald old man. The bald old man nodded and waved his hand to his subordinates, and the silly big brother put the sleeping little brother on the other shoulder. Then he handed the old priest to the two soldiers, and then the bald old man was still leading the way in front, and the two soldiers were walking with the desolate priest, and the procession slowly walked towards the fire position. When everyone left, it was early in the morning, but it was already the setting sun sucking blood, and the fish ash of the setting sun was sprinkled on the grassland, and the brilliant piece was very dazzling. I heard the voice of young Master Shengshu in my ears. Why is your kid so strong? What kind of horizontal kung fu have you practiced? Or is it the innate cohesion of a big man? You look thin. I didn't expect your bones to be full of oil. It's really surprising. The young master of Shengshu seems to be sick. He has been in my ears all the way. At first I will laugh and respond to a couple of sentences, and then I simply pretend not to hear. No way. This guy has so many questions. You answer him, he will ask you two right away, and these questions are endless. I can't help but turn my head and ask Hua Hudi. Does he always talk so much? He talks a lot when Shengshu is better? Hua Hudai shook his head and said, I was stunned. I don't know what Hu Hudai means. Does this talk have anything to do with Shangsu? I turned my head and asked Shomagon if you want to learn from the saying of the more sacred threads, you have to see who is talking to him. Shomagon smiled and shook his head. I was stunned again. I thought all the way how to talk about it. When it comes to himself, what does he talk about? Shangsu and himself, and finally figured it out when he saw Hu Weiyin. I was able to rush up, and if you dare to get close to you, I will kill you. Quickly escaped from the side of young Master Shangsu. Young Master Shangsu was not angry at all. Still smiling now, I finally understand why young Master Shangsu is so affectionate about himself. Feelings are that he is thinking about himself. This person looked so angry at that time. Maybe he really had any hobbies. While I was vigilantly guarding against young Master Shangsu, the large army finally walked into Hu Wei's camp, and the camp was still the same as when I left in the morning. It's just that the stumps that bind the people of the northern wilderness are empty. I turned my head to look and saw that the gate of Huayan was walking down on the scale, and I skimmed my iron mouth. Could it be that they were in charge of watching? The bald old man sent everyone to the battalion commander in the morning, and when he saw everyone walking in, he breathed a sigh of relief and let the deep people disperse. The soldiers of Hu Min heard the order and dispersed, and the longevity horsepole led everyone into the battalion commander, and everyone put their weapons on the shelf in turn. The expression of reluctance made me sick. I thought secretly in my heart, just as I was thinking wildly, Shanyang Lake walked in leisurely from the outside, and everyone in the battalion commander looked at Shanyang Lake. And he sat down behind the table, took out the pamphlet, exhaled, and slowly asked how to catch a shaman and bring him back and consider you done. Then Shenyangu took out the pamphlet I saw in the morning from under the table. Shenyangu didn't know what was written on it. Even a shaman appeared. I'm afraid there are big people behind you. You're kind of medicine powder that can make people tell the truth. Give me a copy. Shoma Pole turned around and took out a white bottle from the box and put it on the table. Everything is back. Shou Ma Gang smiled and said nothing. Shanyang Lake looked at young Master Sheng Huan. Are you always protecting him? My brows were raised twice. Shanyang Lake is treating me as a male insect. Just when I was about to say something, Shou Ma Juan spoke first. He is good, we will take him with us next time. It's interesting that Shanyang Lake sits so deep and looked at me again. This time he had 3 points in his eyes. It was 7 points of curiosity in this case. What do you want? I just say it to myself. You talk to me again. Shanyang Lake nodded and said, what do you want? I subconsciously replied, I don't want anything. It's impossible. Everyone here has what they want. Some want to be innocent. Some want freedom. Some want stability. Some people want people's lives. What do you want? I understand that Shenyangu is serious. I was silent for a moment and then said, I want to kill. Other than that, there is nothing else to ask for. Shanyang Lake looked at me for a long time and suddenly laughed. I thought you wanted a handsome lord. My expression was dark. It seemed that the old man knew my background, and then Shenyangu took out a booklet from under the table, opened one of the pages, looked up and asked, what name do you want to write? I didn't even think about it. Shanyang Lake picked up the pen, then wrote the words of Shao Su-san on his finger, and then said, from now on you will save 1,000 meritorious deeds. When you save the meritorious service, you will be free. I asked for a while, what does this have to do with what you just asked me? What I wanted, Shenyangu said with a smile. It doesn't matter. I'm just curious. I'm speechless. I thought how important what happened just now turned out to be a prank by Shanyang Lake. At this time, Shanyang Lake had already put away the booklet, and the longevity horse pole bowed to him and then walked out of the tent, and the others followed. I took a deep look at Shanyang Lake and then walked out of the tent. It was completely dark outside the tent, and some soldiers took everyone back to the cell, and as soon as everyone was locked in, the door of the cell was closed, and everyone returned to the place where they stayed. I held a piece of grass in my mouth and said, what is the origin of this mustache? I feel that I can strangle him to death with one hand. And the longevity horse pole smiled and said, he is an ordinary old man. As ordinary as me, I heard what Shou Maju said, but I was more interested in Shanyang Lake, because I knew that Shou Maju himself was not an ordinary old man, and Shanyang who probably had a story. But I didn't ask about Shanyang Lake anymore. I still have a lot of questions. I thought about it. Then you go out to do things to save merit. Yes, what's the use of things? I can help you make your wish come true, but I don't have any wish. Sooner or later, there will be something. What is that booklet? It's just a ledger. What does the bald teacher do? You can think that he is giving us a real or false last question, you say. Shin Sugongzi, does he have the name of Dragon Sheep? Yes, and he is thinking about you now. True or false? Guess. At this time, the cell door is open. A soldier is coming to deliver food. Tonight's meal is steamed buns to drink. Shoma Pol got up and walked to the big frame. I also stood up slowly and vigorously. This time I was still the first stupid one, the second flower butterfly, the third son of Shin Su. I was behind him. He was thinking about you. The little man was worried about a word. Shin Sugongzi turned his head with a smile and said, you come in front of me. He is thinking about you. I don't appreciate it at all. I'm just in the back. It's about to be beaten on the spot. And at this time, the sound of the horse pole came. Don't Dawn, you're not hungry. He's still hungry. The child is growing his body. How can I not eat on time? The little man made a black leaf behind me. It seemed that he was dissatisfied with me and young Master Shin Su. I often lost a breath of fresh air and suppressed the anger in my heart. Standing behind the little man, young Master Shin Su smiled darkly, like a child who succeeded in playing a prank, and then took a bun and returned to the corner. The little man couldn't wait to run forward, took out me and young Master Shin Su from the big frame, and then plunged into the big frame, and I took the bun and sat in the corner with a depressed face. Carried by the horse pole and sat next to me. Don't be angry. He has a thief's heart but no thief's courage. In fact, he is showing favor to you. I took a bite of the bun hard and said, this is Lai Hama lying on the top of his feet, not biting someone if you feel out of breath. Go back and clean him up. How to clean him up? Could it be that he beat him up? What he cares about most is the iron rod, and you can figure out the rest. I was willing to think hard about the buns, thinking about how I could make some articles from the iron rod. But when I finished the buns, I couldn't think of any good way, and I didn't have any fire in my heart now. I wanted to find something to vent on. So I reached out and snatched the 9 barrels from the pole of the horse. Snatch back the 9 barrels with your hands, you kid. What are you angry about with my wine? You are like this, I can poison it. I wiped my mouth and felt that the anger in my heart disappeared a little. As for the pole of the horse, I didn't take it to heart at all. After eating and drinking, the cell fell silent, and I also leaned against the corner and fell asleep in the mud. Maybe the alcohol came up, or maybe I was tired. I slept soundly. Just one day in the middle of the night, I was suddenly woken up. I thought it was the son of Shin Su, who wanted to attack me secretly, but I didn't expect that the cell door was open, and a soldier opened the cell door with a lantern, but he just stood outside the door. I didn't come in. I looked at the door. I didn't know where this was the trouble, and then I heard the horse pole next to me talking, and they all got up to work, and as the horse pole finished speaking, everyone in the cell said, everyone is lined up every time. The whole camp seems to have been sprinkled with a layer of white sand. The temperature on the grassland at night is a little low. It's really cold, but my body is now. I didn't care about that, and now the whole camp was radical and silent. Obviously the soldiers were resting, but a few of us were called up. I was a little bored. I didn't know what to do in the middle of the night, and soon we were taken there. During the day, everyone in the camp silently picked up their belongings, and I also picked up my own soybeans. And at this moment, Shanyang Lake walked in from outside the tent. This time, instead of running at the table, he handed a roll of parchment to the pole, and the pole unfolded the parchment, and I leaned over and saw a map drawn on the parchment, and the priest said, they have stockpiled a batch of grain in the north, and you go and burn their grain and grass camp tonight. After a few people left the camp, they found that the bald prison was already waiting outside with the soldiers, and the two parties made eye contact. Without any verbal exchange, the large army walked towards the outside of the lake enclosure camp. I was a little bored. How is the way of taking on the task tonight different from during the day? Shang Sugongzi leaned over to me and said, do you have anything to ask? I didn't even look at him. He said with an iron face, no, get out of here, and Shang Su's young master was not angry, and began to explain to me that the tasks at night are not considered normal tasks and will not be recorded in the booklet, so you can let go of your hands and feet tonight. No one will know about this. I will roll his eyes and say, you will open your eyes and talk nonsense. Don't you know the bald head in front? Don't you know the soldier in the back? Young Master Shang Su smiled and said, no one knows anyway. I think young Master Shang Su said it. I waited and didn't say anything. I still don't know anything after hearing it, but I am still looking forward to tonight's task. After all, Shang Sugongzi said that he could let go of his hands and feet tonight, and when the team was on its way, I took the time to look at my system. Since one day, my current physique has exceeded that of ordinary people. 5 times that of ordinary people. Even when I was a child during the day today, I was killed by me, so now I have the biggest palm, and of course, thanks to the knife in my hand, it can withstand my strength. If the weapons are not powerful, even if I lose half of my combat power, I don't know what will happen to the future development of the system, and whether there will be new options in the future, but now I only have one physique option, so I added all the attribute points. But for now, I'm already very satisfied. I just need to kill more desolate people. I can become less. As for other things, let's talk about it later. The large army has been advancing. I don't know how long it took. Suddenly dark clouds rose in the sky, and the visibility around him shrank sharply, and at this time the bald old man stopped, and then the bald old man dismounted, still not saying a word, only dared to attack and defend against the beast and horse. The beast horse dared to attack and defend, and then led everyone to continue to move forward. The bald old man and the soldiers quickly disappeared in the darkness behind me. This is why I dared to speak loudly. Where are we going? The grain and grass camp of the desolate tribe. The surroundings are black and black. I can't see anything. The beast horse dared to point to a little brother and said, "Just follow him." I looked down. The little brother who led the way in front of me was surprised and said that this kid started with a fist and hung his fists, and the young master of Jinsu drew the book next to me again. This kid is amazing. He dares to be stronger than the wolves on the grassland. Fang Yuan's movements are as strong as possible. He knows everything. I nodded, and I didn't say anything more, and a group of people rushed on their way in a muffled voice. Walking forward again, the little brother suddenly stopped, pointed to the front and let out a low sound. The beast horse dared to say to everyone immediately, "Ready to act?" I asked seriously. "What is the action plan?" Beast horse dare said very seriously, "Free play, free play." I am directly speechless. We are going to attack the grain and grass camp of the desolate tribe. Beast horse dare, this plan is really too earful. But the others didn't have any opinions. Everyone had already prepared their weapons. It seemed that they were not the first time they had done this. And then the bearded young master came up. "Xiao Su. Let's fight again this time. I promised to protect you well." I wanted to refuse. But when I saw that the little brother had climbed on the shoulders of the silly big brother, I changed my mind. The combination of the silly big brother and the little brother is really invincible. It is simply a life harvester. I am just trying. Neither of them is as good as the two of them, so it's not impossible to cooperate with Shangsu Gongzi. I'll put forward a condition. When the time comes, I will kill someone. You set fire, you beat the person half to death, and then I will give him the final blow. Seeing that I agreed, Shangsu immediately nodded and said, "What should I do? I won't kill anyone tonight. I'll leave it all to you." I nodded and said, "I thought of a name for our team. How about killing and setting fire?" Before Shangsu Gongzi agreed, the flower butterfly next to him suddenly laughed. So it was better to ask the husband and wife to follow. Shangsu Gongzi clapped his hands after listening. "This is good. I was going to have a seizure at that time. If I hadn't been numb at this time, I would have to talk to the flower butterfly. I would have sent a butterfly and said, 'Well, stop arguing, we're here.' I could only raise my hand and look up. A barracks appeared in the dark night in the distance. He quietly opened his bloody mouth like a beast, welcoming all unexpected events. I cracked my mouth and immediately mobilized the system to start adding points. System prompt adding some success. The familiar feeling instantly spread all over my body. Just as I was about to rush up, my silly big shoulders didn't make anything. The expression of the numbness instantly became serious. "There was a person in it," I said in surprise. This is also what he said. The numbness nodded and said, "The plan has changed." Canceling freedom vividly, everyone's expressions became serious, and the feeling of numbness began to give everyone their own arrangements. And the two of you were responsible for breaking through. "We must make a mess in the grain and grass camp." Shonugan pointed at the silly big brother and said to the little man. The silly big brother nodded, and the little man also took a look angrily. Obviously he liked this arrangement very much. The numbness pointed at the flower butterfly and said, "You go and be responsible for arson to stop all the people who want to inactivate it." Shomagon pointed at the two of us and said, "You go with me to deal with that master together." "What? I have a little bit on the spot, master. I'll go set it on fire." "Promise to burn all the grain and grass, kill all the people," and young master Shinsu also has to say, "Are you afraid? Don't be afraid, I will protect you." I glared at him. This Shinsu Gongzi is really annoying. I'm not afraid of anything. He has him to intervene and mess around. "Stop arguing." Shomagon shook his head and said, "No, you are not as flexible as him. I still want to refute." But Shomagon waved his hand and said, "Okay." Shomagon gave an order, so stupid that he carried the kid on his back, always going to 2 levels. And the butterflies also flashed and disappeared into the darkness. I could only watch them leave. Then he unwillingly picked up the box and followed the horse to walk forward. Young Master Shangshu saw my thoughts and said with a smile, "Don't worry. There are many people in the big shadow, and you will kill enough in a while." I sighed. I hope it is really as Shangshu Gongzi said, although I am playing the task of sending people to the red flag. But now I have to take the overall situation as the main picture. The 3 of them chanted towards the food and grass of the desolate tribe. and walked very slowly when they reached the halfway point. The big shadow was already on fire. I licked my lips, and there was an expression of envy in my eyes. Silly big brother and the little man must have killed very coolly now. But the actions of the desolate clan are also good. The big shadow remembered the footsteps of Zensenho, and the desolate clansmen moved very quickly. Immediately put into an action to go abroad. In the central army camp of the desolate tribe, the muscular desolate tribesmen were listening to the answer of their subordinates, and an unknown enemy broke into the camp. The desolate people in the religion are named Yujita. He is in charge of this place. He is not timid. He dares to burn my food and grass, and he does not have the power to exterminate them. Yujita's face was gloomy. He picked up a moon knife and walked out. The camp was full of flames, and there were shouts from the desolate people everywhere. They could only be tired of landing, but they couldn't touch the enemy's spear at all. Yujita's face was clear, and he had already made a military order in front of Kihan. It will definitely protect the slow distance of the grain and grass, but now everything is going to be destroyed. Yujita looked around, looking for traces of the enemy, but the surroundings were too chaotic. He couldn't see any enemies at all, and the little man was in the camp at this time. 6 quasi-paving skills. Whenever the desolate tribesmen finally gathered the power of a tiger, the little man rushed in and was in chaos for a while, and the desolate tribesmen's team instantly collapsed with their leg bows, and before the desolate tribesmen could regroup, a small mountain-like figure rushed out of the firelight. He raised the tooth stick in his hand and pointed at the front of the hengzi. The desolate tribesmen instantly killed and injured the blind technique, and the rest of the desolate tribesmen were frightened. They desperately tried to escape from these 2 monster-like enemies, but as soon as they reached safety, a figure like a night ghost coincidentally saw himself, his whip glowing red, and took one desolate person after another. Although the number of troops of the Huang tribe was large, they had no power to parry in the face of these 3 people, and they could only watch as their hard-earned liangshi was burned into caramel. At this time, the little man who killed Zheng Huan reached Yukita's figure. He stabbed his teeth at Yukita, and then turned to the side of the big eagle gate, and Yukita was swinging his big throat at that time and chased after him. The little thief Mo2 stabbed me, but the little man didn't stop. He turned his head and made a ghost eye at Yukita, and then skewered it on the shoulder of the silly big brother, and the silly big brother didn't stop. They insisted on implementing the course of action of the horse's gallbladder. The guidance was chaotic, and they did not resist, so when they saw Yukita, they did not practice at all, and quickly disappeared into the sky-high fire. The silly big brother and the small figure were so angry that he bit the sky and looked at him. It was a kiss wind that interrupted Yukita's kiss wind. Young Master Shin Su and I finally arrived at the door of the eagle. The gallbladder stood not far behind us, with no intention of going forward to fight, and I was holding back my anger now. Finally saw a desolate tribesman. Of course he wouldn't let him go. Yukita's wolf hero was interrupted, and he was very upset. He raised his eyes and pointed at me. Who is coming? I put the big eagle gate on my shoulder. He spat out and said coldly, "Your father." Yukita's face turned black with anger, and the eagle raised his hand and rushed up. The little thief took his life, I said smoothly with a look on the corner of my mouth. It's good. And after saying that, Yukita's tone was cut off. My speed is not very good. It is simply like fire in the dark night, and Yukita's speed is not slow, although he is not in shape, but his actions are explosive, and a loud noise is remembered in front of the 2 grass eagles. My broadsword and Yukita's moon knife collided hard, and in a short time I felt the powerful strength in my hand, and I let out a secret cry from the sky. What a strong force! Yukita was also hurt by the tiger's mouth. There was a difference in his heart. The opponent's strength was so great, and he took off the strength in his hands to look at each other, and his eyes became solemn. The dance of ordinary people is as simple as chopping vegetables, but this desolate tribe in front of me can withstand my blow, and what surprised me the most was that in the past, I could cut the corners of the desolate tribesmen with a single knife. But the weapon of the person on the opposite side did not break, and sure enough, there were 2 strokes, as expected of the master in the mouth of the thin hemp gang. I was excited for a while. How many attributes did they know? Yukita's eyes were also shocked when he looked at me. His opponent looked at his ordinary figure, but he didn't expect to have such great strength. You must know that Yukita is still very confident in his own strength. But now what he thinks is good to win is being challenged by the imperial people in front of him. The battle in Yukita's heart was even better. Such an enemy made him even more excited. He wanted to take my head back as a combat weapon, and a shocking light erupted in Yukita's eyes at the same time. Come on, this time I used all my strength to cut this desolate tribe in half, but just when the 2 of them immediately collided together. A voice suddenly came out beside me, making a fuss about my figure, imitating my voice, deliberately lowering my voice, making my tone thicker, and finally making a strange sound similar to a duck crying, eating me. Young Master Shinshu rushed at Yukita and killed him. The iron rod in his hand smashed into Yukita's head fiercely. Yukita was originally focused on dealing with me. Who knew that a pale-faced boy came out from next to me? He could only urgently turn his performance knife to resist the iron rod that the kid smashed over. The iron rod and the performance knife collided together, without making the slightest sound. Not even a spark, only a strange scream. Young Master Shinsu held the head of the iron rod and pushed through a few. He crushed his hand fiercely, and scolded with a bright face, "What a lot of strength to do with me." I rolled my eyes. He snorted coldly and said, "Can you stop adding to the chaos? Shinsu will make up for it? Who are you throwing here?" He clearly saw that I could handle a group of the desolate tribesmen, but he took a few steps back. How could he almost break his hand? His iron rod was trembling until now, and he didn't wait for young Master Shinsu to refute. I rushed up again, and Yukita didn't want to say anything more. So I rushed up again, and Yukita was already shocked by me, and when he saw young Master Shinsu, his heart was full of excitement. If both enemies have such great strength, it will be really bad for me. But to Yukita's surprise, young Master Shinsu did not cause any harm to him at all. His heart was a little more at ease, and he no longer looked at young Master Shinsu's intentions. Sorry for rushing up with concentration. Young Master Shinsu was despised by me and Yukita one after another, and was so angry that he was about to have a seizure on the spot, but he saw the two colliding together. When he saw it, he silently pushed him to the side of the pole and said with a smile, "Don't worry, hard work is not what you look like." Young Master Shinsu fainted with a face, "I know. But these two people are too disrespectful," and smiled at the horse pole. I was also very surprised. The speed of this kid's progress was really a bit fast, and young Master Shinsu made a fuss and didn't speak. Instead, he looked at the battlefield, and just as young Master Shinsu was talking to the horse pole, I had already made several moves with Yukita, but except for a spark. There was no effect. Yukita seemed to be getting happier and happier, the benefits on his face were getting heavier and heavier, and finally he and I had another hard fight. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. It's been a long time since I've been so happy, and I'm a little unhappy. I am on par with this panicked clan's strength. No one can do anything about anyone. This is not good. If I delay any longer, everyone in the Great Een will be killed by the other three, and then my experience package will be gone. My heart moved, and I looked at the remaining attribute points. Since I can't beat it, then add some more. I'm hanging up. Who am I afraid of? But before I could make a move, Yukita on the opposite side took out a small bottle from his arms. "If I usually meet you, I will definitely compete with you. But now no." After Yukita finished speaking, he opened the small bottle, raised his head and swallowed the contents, and then he mumbled something, and then his body changed. I saw Yukita's muscles suddenly swell, and then quickly retracted. His already dark skin became more fearsome. His eyes became sharper, and he also picked up the pit lamp on his forehead. I was a little embarrassed to see what was going on. "Why did you look so evil?" At this time, the sound of a thin motor came from behind me. "Be careful." He took the miracle medicine of chicken shredded thorns. "The power has become greater." I can't help but scold. I thought I was perverted enough to add a little more, but I didn't expect someone to be more shameless than me. Unable to beat the shock medicine, Yukita's face showed a pious expression, and then the whole person fell into extreme madness. "Oh great God! Thank you for the power you have given me. In return, I will offer the blood of the enemy to you." The performance in my hand is sent to me. Hu Shang Fong Gong. The current Yukita seems to have endless strength. In the distance, young Master Shinsu had a solemn expression on his face. He had already learned Yukita's power just now, although he was not injured, but he knew that he was no match for Yukita at all, and now Yukita had taken the divine medicine of chicken thorns. But his strength has become stronger, so can I withstand it? Shoma Dan seemed to see young Master Shinsu's worries. He smiled and said, "Don't worry. Wait a little longer. This kid seems to be getting stronger and stronger as he fights." Young Master Shinsu nodded, looked at the occasion uneasily. He was now worried. Nothing can be done. Yukita has completed his mystical consciousness, and now he only has me in his eyes. This is the sacrifice he promised to offer to God. He must kill me, Yukita, the great religion, for the rest of his life. The whole person rushed towards me like a barbaric bull, and I had no time to add all the attributes to the system without hesitation, and I had been warned by the gallbladder just now. So I don't dare to stay here now. System prompt: successfully add points, remaining attribute points 0. Huge power, instant words. Like a rushing wave, filled with my resignation. I couldn't help but exclaim something. This feeling is so addictive. I hugged and hugged my whole life towards Yukita. Paving addiction, both sides are at the peak of their strength, and this blow is destined to be not ordinary, after the loud noise. Young Master Shin Su looked nervously at the field, and after the direct collision between the two, I still persevered on the spot, while Yukita in front of me looked stunned, because my blow just now directly pierced his eyes. Carry it out, Yukita's tiger's mouth has been cracked, and when I arrived, it was only turned outward in a strange shape. Just like him, the red card will never be able to hold a knife again. Of course, it could be that there was no chance, but Yukita didn't care about that. He just stared blankly at my knife and seemed to be thinking about something he couldn't figure out. Why was the last thing Yukita said? Because the next moment, I have already asked Yukita the sword and card in my hand to ask your god, what is Hangguang? Yukita finally doesn't have to think about that question anymore. His thoughts fell into darkness. I didn't even look at Yukita's body, and I forbade him to walk forward, just in case he wanted to cut off Yukita's eyes. I looked at the moon knife carefully, and there was a temporary look in my eyes. This is really a good knife under my power. There was no damage at all. I carried the iMoon knife behind me every time, and there was something that made me even happier, and I remembered the system's prompt sound in my mind. System prompt, the number of kills is 1, the reward order attribute points are 1.1. I am so happy. This desolate tribe is really more attribute points than the last time the desolate tribesman gave. Thinking of this, I suddenly remembered something. I looked at the big shadow of the desolate tribe in front of me, and my face changed instantly. My experience exploded, and the next moment I crashed out, running and shouting. Don't kill me. Leave me some at this time. On the hill in front of the camp, young Master Shin Su opened his mouth wide in shock, and after thinking for a while, he spat out 2 words. There is you. The horse pole smiled and said, how is it? I said it right. Shin Su Gongzi clenched the iron rod in his hand. He really couldn't describe his mood at this time. In addition to being shocked, it was more speechless than the leader of the desolate tribe. He was stabbed to death twice. Don't be stunned, go down and help. But Shin Su Gongzi fell and said, I'm not going. What else do I have to do there? A few of them are all done. This bun is going to be the last in line. It doesn't matter. I can see this scene. It's also worth it. Shin Su Gongzi and Shoma Pol stood on the top of the hill outside the camp, looking at the world that was already a sea of fire in front of them. One was expressionless, and the other was pointing. I don't know what I'm thinking. The world has indeed turned into a sea of fire. And of course the cool grass camp of the desolate tribe is gone, and the sky-high fire illuminates the entire night sky. At this time, I was still searching for what I could see in the camp, except for the firelight and dead bodies. Many Huang soldiers had already fled. And the most frightened ones were also killed by all 3 people. I wandered around for a long time and found nothing, when I returned to the outside of the camp unwillingly. I found that everyone was waiting for me. The little brother has now become a bloody man, and the stupid one is fortunate, but the mace has turned into a meat boat. The minced meat on it was enough for him to work for a long time, and the flower butterfly was still the same, but the clothes on his body were a little black, and it was estimated that he had the courage to walk forward enthusiastically when he set the fire just now. Why did you come out? Everyone is waiting for you. I looked helplessly at this kind of thug. Let's go. The alien man walked in the direction he came, and his expression was very relaxed, obviously very satisfied with the result of tonight, while the silly big brother was more distressed. The minced meat on his mace was already in a mess, and it was not over no matter how much he did. The little brother was busy with his nails, and if he refused again, the blood would all solidify. Ahudi walked behind me, watching the young Master Shang Su being cloudy and sunny for me. Let me help you carry a knife. You are quite tired to carry 2 by yourself. Why do you say you are so powerful? You cut that desolate man to death with 2 knives. You have too much strength. I really didn't see it before. I am fighting for my life. Listening to Shang Su's words, I felt even more annoyed. So I said with a cold face, shut up. Is your ancestor a 4-mile spokesman? Shang Su Gongzi, what does this mean? Ahu Dai pounced and laughed out loud. He said that you must talk a lot. You must say no, I don't have to say. You must say what you say. You speak quite interestingly. I decided to shut up. This person's skin is not generally thick. No matter what he says, it is impossible to break his room. It's better to save effort. The closed fireman continued to hurry, and finally at dawn I saw the bald head in the distance, and the bald head always saw everyone coming back. Obviously relieved, he arched his horse at the pole, then turned over and waved at the large army behind him. The soldiers who had been waiting all night were finally able to go back. Everyone's expressions were very relaxed, and the speed of the journey was much faster, and when the sun was completely crawling out of the ground, we saw the Tiger Guard camp in the distance. At this time, the Tiger Guard camp has been restored to life, and the sound of the soldiers' drills can be heard from a distance. On this day we saw the Tiger Guard camp in the distance, and for some reason we saw the Tiger Guard camp in the distance, and when I heard these sounds the night's work was finally over. This time, the bald old man did not send everyone to the battalion commander who was not stupid in the mountains and oceans, but after taking away their weapons, he sent them directly to the prison, and everyone went back to their places to rest. I also sat on the single grass with my buttocks down. Chinshu Gongzi may be tired, and finally stopped guarding me. You bothered me anymore, but I was affected by the horse but started talking again. You kid can always surprise me. I smiled and said, it's all a fluke. My old man still has this bit of eyesight. Is it strength or fluke? I can still see it. I have a little guilt. This old man is a ghost. What did he see? Did you practice any exercises? Every time you go out, your strength will be a little stronger. This exercise is definitely not simple. I decided not to say anything, just let the horse feel guess by yourself. If he can guess that I have a system, is it called evil door? I will not beat him and stop asking. Everyone here has secrets, and he himself is no exception. Some of them are unwilling to be said. Then don't force it. Just when everyone was quiet and about to fall asleep, the door of the cell opened, and a soldier pushed a cart in. I smelled a fragrance at that time. My stomach screamed without steam. The cart was full of all kinds of meat, and there was water under the cart. Of course, there were 2 big barrels of wine, and the soldiers pushed the cart in and left, and everyone saw the horse, and the horse felt a smile and said, what are you doing? Eat. The little man and the silly big dog rushed up, and Shinsu Gongzi was not to be outdone. He seemed to be really hungry, and he didn't even use orchid paper to get meat, and the flower butterfly also came out of the darkness. He looked at the other 3 people with disgust on his face, and tried to think boldly, picked up a piece of meat steak and a pot of water from the cart, and then returned to the darkness and said to me with a smile, let's eat something. I nodded and walked to the cart with the feeling of the horse, and the young Master Shinsu picked up a piece of pork belly and told me that it tastes very fragrant. I rolled my eyes at him. I didn't pick up the pork belly, but picked up a piece of sword meat. I could carry it. Young Master Shinsu didn't care about my indifference, and picked up a pot of wine from the location. I really didn't dislike young Master Shinsu this time. Hu Zhong's wine was too muddy, and I couldn't drink it. So I picked up a pot of clean water, drank it alone, and took the wine jug of young Master Shinsu under the feeling of Ma. He smiled and said, I want to take a sip today, and today I want to have a good drink. A group of people gathered around the car to eat and drink. The scene became lively for a while. I ate my mouth full of liquid. This meat was just simply boiled, and then sprinkled with a layer of salt, but I ate very well, and the silly big brother and the little man. They didn't eat at all. They stuffed the meat into their mouths, and they took it off without even having their feet. The teeth are very good. Young Master Shinsu ate very quickly, and it didn't take long for him to be able to eat. Maybe it was when Baesining he started talking to me again with a pot of wine. Xiao Xiaosu, you are so powerful, why don't you protect me next time? I glanced at him and said, I don't protect my stick man. If it's a woman you can consider it. Young Master Shinsu smiled heavily and said, then you treat me as a woman. I glanced at him again and said, I don't like to play things, and the voice of dissatisfaction came from the depths of the cell. The old lady is eating. Can you not talk about such a disgusting topic? But the young Master Shinsu is not there at all. He laughed, took a sip of wine and said, it's interesting. It's really interesting. Xiao Xiaosu, you are really a wonderful person. This metaphor is too vivid when playing, and the flower butterfly finally can't bear it. A bone was thrown out of the darkness, and the bone passed through young Master Shinsu's wine jug and plunged deep into the wood of the cart, and young Master Shinsu's laughter stopped abruptly, and the wine in his hand shattered to the ground, and the wine dripped down from the cracks of his hand. Then young Master Shinsu screamed dissatisfiedly. Annoying. Are you a tiger? You can kill me? What are you doing? Young Master Shinsu licked his fingers heartbrokenly. Trying to suck the wine clean, the skinny horse dares to laugh. I also think that the wine can't be wasted. Next time you can wipe his mouth with a bone. The cold snort of the flower butterfly came from the darkness, and the next time it was not his mouth that was wiped. Young Master Shinsu was frightened and couldn't move, and he shouted, don't mess around. I don't say it. I was laughed at by the funny appearance of the young Master Shinsu, and the thin horse dared to laugh hee-hee, and most of the stupid people didn't know what everyone was laughing at, and they also laughed, only the little man didn't care. Another piece of meat was stuffed into his mouth, and there was a laughing face in the cell, but this was the door of the cell suddenly opened, and everyone looked towards the door, and this time it was not the officers and soldiers who came in. It was a few prisoners dressed in clothing, and the first person who came in was a shirtless man. He was full of gold and flesh, and his chest and back were painted all over his body, and it was very difficult to speak at first glance. Finally, my eyes fell on the flesh of the cart, and I was stunned at the time. I didn't expect that there were also social people in this world. But I didn't know if it was really the second person who came in was a woman. Her chest is bulging, and she is about to break through the plea, although her chest is atmospheric, but she has raised her waist, and the whole person is very incongruous. Buried in two groups, she seemed very timid, and did not dare to look at the people in the cell, and I was stunned. I didn't expect that there were such all-natural cows in this world. The third person who came in was a man who felt the same way as a horse. She had a pair of eyes like a fighting and looked very smooth. I figured out the status of the person on the field, and finally she set her sights on the person who was affected by the horse, and I don't know why, cross-eyed gave me a very bad impression, and I always felt that he was planning something in his heart when he looked at people. After everyone came in, the soldier closed the door of the cell and everyone in the cell looked at them, but when Shangnan was very rude, sat down next to the silly big brother, and picked up a piece of meat. Then he picked up a piece of big fat and could carry it. The silly big brother was simple-minded. He was full now, he didn't mind when Shang's behavior at all, and even gave the eldest brother and sister a place. The eldest brother and sister lowered their heads and sat behind when Shang Nan, eating meat in small bites, looking very gentle, while the little man next to him looked at the saliva left by his 2 balls of meat, and we and others did not move. No one stopped when Shang Nan from taking the meat. The silly big brother and the little man, one would only smirk, and the other would only leave drool. I am lamenting that the strong capital of the big brothers and sisters is really big, and the longevity horse sense has been laughing all the time. This is cross-eyed, breaking the silence on the field. He directly pointed at the longevity horse to feel the craftsmanship. All the heroes and villains came out to fight, and I hope you will take care of me. Shoma smiled and said, polite and polite, be hungry, eat while it's hot, you are lucky today, you will have meat to eat when you come. Cross-eyed respectfully nodded to Shoma, and finally picked up the chopsticks and stirred it up. It seems that he is really hungry. I can't help but cross-eyed the cross-eyed man of Gaohan. This person is a bit interesting. This man has, even if he is hungry, he has not forgotten etiquette, which is completely different from the Vincent man. Everyone watched them eat and drink. The Vincent man ate a lot and almost ate the rest of the meat. And the big brother and sister and the cross-eyed only ate a little. Shoma felt that everyone was full, smiled and said, let's rest early. And finally everyone got up and returned to the place where they usually stayed and sat down. Vincent and found a corner and sat down. The big brother and sister seemed to grow on Vincent man's body. Sat down close to his body, but cross-eyed sat next to Shoma. Gone. Shoma smiled and didn't care. Before these three came, the atmosphere in the old room was very glorious. But now it is very deserted. Vincent Nan is like a mute. He hasn't said a word since he entered the old room. But cross-eyed has been talking to Shoma Gone all the time. But he didn't pay attention to me. I was idle. I didn't pay attention to the cross-eyes. I didn't pay attention to the cross-eyes. Everyone seemed to be tired. I didn't close my eyes last night, and now I need to rest, and the Vincent men and the others have just settled down. He saw that everyone was ready to rest, so he stopped talking, and the old room fell into silence, and he was too tired these days. It's rare for everyone to have a good rest, and I fell asleep quickly in a daze. I shook my head. Vincent is really wild, and he is embarrassed in front of so many people. I turned around and lay down and continued to sleep. But as soon as I lay down, I saw cross-cocked eyes sweating profusely, and Vincent was closing his eyes, and he seemed very nervous, and I was a little uncomfortable. I don't know what kind of illness he had, but I didn't bother to care about him, so I closed my eyes and went to sleep, and the day passed in the sound of confusion, until it was dark, and the man stopped and my eyes straightened. I didn't sleep well all day. I felt like I had made a lot of bad hats, and now my head was full of the voices of men and women. I glanced at Vincent Man resentfully, and I was shocked at that time. I saw that Vincent Man seemed to have lost a lot of weight. My cheeks were pale and even dark circles came out. I sighed. I really don't know about spying on young people, and I saw the big brother and sister again. The Vincent Man is like this. What kind of big brother and sister have been tossed into it? I saw that the big brother and sister were still holding the arm of the Vincent Man, but his face was rosy, his complexion was very good, even the 2 lumps on his chest. It seems to be a little bigger. I sighed again. The old saying is really good, only the tired cow. There is no worse sweetness. I don't have the heart to care about the force of the Vincent Man and the big brother and sister. I did it. I looked at the cross-cocked eyes beside the beast and horse feeling, and saw that the cross eyes looked normal, and there was no sign of illness at all. I was a little uncomfortable. Could it be that I was wrong at the time, and the cross eyes were shaking at that time, and I was dreaming? I looked at the others again. The little man was helping the silly big sweet nails. The beast and horse sense was still closing his eyes to maintain health. but the young Master Shin Su was looking at me. At this moment, the door of the cell opened, and an officer and soldier walked in with a large frame, and inside the box was a steamed bun. And there was no wine today. Everyone saw that dinner was coming, so they all got up and walked to the door. Vincent Nan walked with the big brother and sister in the first place, the silly big man and the small man in the second. Shun Su Gongzi waited for me in a panic, and the cross-eyed eyes followed behind the beast and horse scents, and the flower butterfly also came from the cell. Unable to get out of the darkness that stretched out, Vincent Nan didn't wait for everyone to line up and grabbed it directly into the big frame, but a person stood in front of him, and I looked at that person. Looking around again, he instantly widened his eyes. Damn it, when did the beast and horse sense pass through? Will this beast and horse sense move smoothly? At this time, the beast and horse sense spoke with a smile. The cell is ruled. When eating, everyone lines up according to the number of people killed by the task. And the man said the first words that came in. I don't care what rules you have, I have my own rules. I don't have the first one. I didn't expect Vincent Nan to be a stunned youth. This time there is a good show to watch. Just take this opportunity to see how the beast and horse sense are doing. But the beast and horse sense didn't say anything, just looked at the Vincent man with a smile, and the Vincent man didn't answer when he saw the beast and horse. Don't let him go at that time, but this is the big brother and sister around him twisted a little. Vincent Nan turned his head to look at the big brother and sister, and chased to the end with a cold pit. I was amazed at how could this Vincent man listen to a woman, but I didn't think much about it. These people are very interesting. I have to observe again. Today is still the silly big brother who took the first one, the second one took the flower beard, and I ranked third. The little brother was ranked fourth. Young Master Shin Su was behind the little brother. Vincent Nan and the big brother and sister were together, cross-eyed at the bottom, and the silly big brother took 10 buns. Bahu Dai took 2, I took 5. When it was the little brother's turn, he took out 3 buns in the big box, and then plunged into the big box, and the young Master Shin Su took a bun, and then the right brother gave the beast and horse daring too. There was no steamed bun left, and the man was angry at the time and roared to the point where you dare to play with me. The beast horse dared to laugh and said, this is the rule, if you want to eat, kill more people next time. What bullshit rules, give your buns to me. The beast horse dared to smile and said, I'm here, if you have the ability, you can get it, and the man immediately stretched out his hand tightly. Beast horse dare bun. But as soon as his hand reached halfway, something strange happened. Vincent's hand quickly turned half black, and only half black, and his hand within a meter of the beast horse dang was black, and then Vincent's face changed. His hand lost consciousness, and the man immediately withdrew his hand, and then his hand instantly returned to normal. The man looked at his hand. His consciousness returned, and then, unbelieving in evil, he stretched out his hand to the beast and horse again. But strange things happened again, and when Vincent's hand reached within a meter of the beast and horse, his hand went black again. This time, Vincent Nan quickly retracted his hand, and then his hand returned to normal. But Vincent Nan no longer dared to reach out and went out. What did you do to me? The beast horse dared to smile and didn't speak. And I knew that I was nibbling on steamed buns at this time. Although I didn't understand this trick, I was shocked. Beast horse dare really deserves to be the boss in the cell. I thought he was poisoned by the ones in the box. But now the beast horse dare is on him. There was not a single bottle, but he could still poison Vincent. And the most divine thing was that this poisonous finger played within a meter of the beast and horse dared to stretch out. And he himself was not affected. Vincent Nan didn't dare to attack the beast and horse now. But he didn't want to swallow this breath, so he turned his head and grabbed my bun. I can't bear it, I didn't even think about it, I just slapped Vincent's hand off. I don't use power this slap. If I use power, then Vincent's hand is already broken, and I still want to watch a play at this time. This Vincent man is like a cold head. He dares to offend people when he first comes, and then he will be more happy to see himself in the future, so I don't think about killing Vincent man now. If I want to kill him, it won't be Vincent's hand, but Vincent man doesn't seem to know. I just spared his life, and I was thinking about getting my buns again. But at this time, young Master Shengshu stood in front of me. Don't take an inch, you want to eat steamed buns, right? Promise me a condition. My bun will belong to you. Vincent Nan looked at Shang Su's dark circles under his eyes and said, what conditions? Shang Su Gongzi smiled darkly and said, how about giving me the girl behind you for a day? A golden light burst out of Vincent's eyes. I thought he was going to turn his face, but I didn't expect Vincent Man to crack his mouth and smile. Okay? For you? Vincent Nan finished speaking, and pushed the big brothers and sisters around him. The big brother and sisters Bo Tao immediately turned over. Shang Su Gongzi didn't look at the eldest brother and sister, but stared at Vincent Nan until he looked at Vincent Nan in a hurry. Hey, do you want it? Shang Su Gongzi said with a dark smile. No, I'm teasing you, you can eat this bun, Shang Su Gongzi said, and threw the bun to Vincent Nan without thinking. He stuffed the bun into his mouth, and at this time, the eldest brother and sister returned to the side of the man Vincent, and then clung to them. I looked at them. Doesn't young Master Shengshu like to take over? Why did he want the big brother and sister, not the man? Instead of asking Vincent to play with him for one night, and what surprised me even more was that Vincent agreed to Shengshu's request as if this condition was not important. Just when I was bored, Vincent suddenly raised his head to me and said, "Boy, give me a bun. How about I let this cow stay with you for one night?" I was confused, my mouth was anxious, and I smiled darkly. I didn't answer Vincent, but stuffed all the buns in my hand into my mouth. Okay. And turned around and left.